Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with part 2 of my reaction to Mr. Chris Miller, former Secretary of Defence, on toppling the Taliban on the Sean Ryan show. So let's jump back in.
They see other vets as competition, and I think a lot of guys get left behind and they don't get the exposure they deserve because the space is so competitive, and I personally think that competitiveness, I can't say that for all the veterans. I can say that for special operations veterans because that's our community, right? But I feel that the competitiveness comes from day one, week one of training, because everything is a competition. The runs are competition. The swims are competition. Who's the best shooter? Who's the best sniper? Who's the best in the kill house? Who's the best driver? Who has the most kills? Who's got the most deployments?
You're right.
And I think that,
you know what, I think that's interesting. Like I can connect and puts a smile on my face when he talks about the level of competition. But one thing that I never recall hearing anyway, not in the Australian SAS regiment, I never heard of any conversations at all, not in private or not in public or not in passing, of any of the operators talking about, and maybe it was happening, but I never heard any of the older operators or never any of the more experienced operators talking about number of kills or anything like that. So maybe that's a thing that happened after I'd left, or maybe it was happening whilst I was there, but I just never heard about it, or never overheard it. But everything else I can 100% relate to. You're trying to be, I don't know about trying to be the best, but you're trying to be as good as you could possibly be for that type of job. That was my approach anyway, because I think probably largely because when I looked around at other operators in the unit when I was in, there was always somebody better. It was always somebody fitter, faster, stronger, better shooter, better driver, better with MOE, breaching, method of entry. Just, they just had drills and skills just down pat. They were slick. So, yeah. But anyway.
and that's what drives us and builds the camaraderie when we're in, right? But then when you come out, it just turns into a disaster.
One of my favorite aphorisms that I share with my children is, and everybody, greatest strength's your greatest weakness, right? Mm-hmm. And that competitiveness truly is. I think maybe I love to tease that out, because some people, I was obviously the same way, but you hit a point where you're like, no, it's about giving back now. Mm-hmm. And that happens at a different time in everybody's life. Some people are blessedly, decide this at a very early age. It wasn't that for me, because you're like, got to put food on the table, got to do well.
Yeah.
Because it's personal, professional standards. It's the way I was raised. Anything you do it the best you can, and all those things. And unfortunately, probably too late in life, I came to the conclusion, like, no, it's all about giving back now, and maybe some people just never get there. But, I'd hope that we all kind of hit that point. Because as veterans, we're growing up together now. Mm-hmm. We're all kind of out now. Handful of people still in. But what I try to share, and I try to fail to do with a lot of the people, is we got to do better than, like you said, you didn't get any help. It's like, maybe you probably didn't need it, to be perfectly honest with you. At the end of the day, I was going to figure it out myself anyhow, but it still would have been nice. I said, we got to do better than the last generation, and we can't leave people behind, man. And I don't know how to do it. I'm trying where I can. And all you can do is, like, where you sit is where you stand, right? Mm-hmm. Which I can't believe I'm sitting in this great chair. I've been watching, dude, I went so dark last night watching all of your podcasts. I'm like 2 a.m. I'm like, I need to get some sleep. It's just amazing. And of course, the legendary chair. I'm like, I'm in the legendary chair. So, okay, thanks for having me. We kind of went off script, I know, but I just wanted, one of the key themes you always bring up is
we haven't even got into Sean doing his intro on this guy and or giving the gift yet, which is probably the gummy bears.
Veteran stuff, and it's not topical, it's not superficial, it's like for real. And I think those are the conversations that we need to have and share with other people that don't understand us.
I agree with that. Going back just real quick.
What do you got?
Real quick, you were asking at the beginning, did anybody step up and help? And the answer was no. There is one person who I've always relied on for help, though, and I'm going to give him credit. It's my best friend, David Rutherford. He's always been there to pick me up when I'm down. And
yeah. So I end up, serving. It's what I did. End up, I accepted. I was asked to be I had a great gig. I was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. And I got like sickeningly focused. I made a mistake in Iraq in 2006-07. You were there. Sadr City was a enclave of Shia militants. There was this guy named Muqtada al-Sadr. They had the Sadr they had some name for his fighting force. And there was, you remember there was civil war going on every night. Shias were killing Sunnis, Sunnis were killing Shias. They called it extrajudicial violence. I called it a civil war, but that wasn't cool. They're like, we can never say it's a civil war. Heaven forbid. We tore this country apart and now there's a civil war. We'll call it extrajudicial killings, EJK. Did you do any work on that?
No, not that I know of.
I think you did and didn't even know it because we were kind of, our tours there overlapped. And I just remember we've got the Civil War going on and we're working it. And then, where was I going with this? I completely forgot.
A mistake.
What's that?
A mistake.
Oh, yeah. So, 10th Special Forces Group, we rotate between 10th Special Forces Group out of Fort Carson. We are 5th Special Forces Group out of Fort Campbell. We just rotate every 6-8 months. And the guy I replaced had become hyper-focused on killing this guy. I forgot his name, Haji something. He had a white camel. That's all I remember.
White camel?
White camel. I was like, white camel? This dude had a white camel, and he would feed it Coca-Cola because it's on YouTube. You can find it. I forgot this guy's name. My buddy became obsessed with killing this guy, and they go up in Sadr City every night. I got there. I'm like, hey, come on. We got to think more than just this one target. And got to be bigger picture, the way I was trained. And I realized he had the right idea. It's like, you got to get hyper-focused on one thing. So when I had the opportunity to get back into counterterrorism after I left the government, or after I left the service, it's like, we need to defeat Al-Qaeda. Everybody's like, you can't defeat terrorism. It's like, I didn't say defeat terrorism. Terrorism, noun versus verb. We can defeat Al-Qaeda. Noun. We can't defeat terrorism. Verb. Got it. Al-Qaeda is a fighting force. Definition to defeat is to render your enemy incapable of, imposing their will on you. It can be temporary state. It's not always, it's not always forever. They can bounce back. So I got fixated on that because of the mistake I'd made in Iraq, not focusing on that key leader, right? So I'm at the National Counterterrorism Center. I had been in the National Security Council, which is the staff that works for the president, right next door to the White House. I got a job from my buddy, dear friend of mine, got me the job. I was in charge of counterterrorism and transnational threats, drug, human trafficking, all that stuff, for the president. And I had this crazy idea. Always do your net assessment, right? You go in, you look at your enemy, and hey, Sean, don't tell anybody. Oh, we're on TV. I had lost the focus on counterterrorism after I left the service. I left in 2014. It's now 2017, 2018. So I need to get back up to speed on what the enemy's doing. Find out, focus on talking to the young intelligence analysts. Don't talk to the head people because they have to give the party line. Go down to the people that like, how long have you been studying this? 6 years, sir. Nobody's ever asked me a question about, whatever. Go listen to those people. Determine that there are 7 key leaders left in Al-Qaeda. Zawahiri, number 1, go all the way through his son Hamza. I can go through the names, but no one cares. I said, what happens if we kill those 7? Like Al-Qaeda ceases to exist. Remember, Al-Qaeda is like a hierarchical, charismatic-driven organization, very elite. It's like special operations, let's be honest. So you can't replace special operators quick. Al-Qaeda was the equivalent of special operations, extremely elite, well-trained, loyal, etc. So what happens if we kill off these 7? They're like, well, Al-Qaeda they'll be defeated. So I came up with this insanely stupid idea. I said, why don't we kill off the final 7 by the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, and we'll drop the mic and declare victory and be done with this thing. I got so much pushback, but I was like, I don't care because...
Why would you get pushback from that?
You want to know what I think it was? Seriously? Bureaucracy. We had created, we talk about the military industrial complex. We had created a counterterrorism industrial complex where budgets went to organizations. We expanded the intelligence community incredibly. I think they were like, I don't think it was malicious, like, oh, we want this war to continue forever. I just don't think I was helpful, by saying, no, we're going to win. We don't want to go political, but, I served, 37 years in uniform or as a civilian for any president. Left, right, in between, didn't care. I spent 1 year working for President Trump. Obviously, very partisan times. We don't even have to go there. That's not your show. I got that. But, he did say, we're about winning. He did say that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, let's go win. I think there was just like, we'd gotten so used to just like the grind. You lived the grind, man.
It seemed like nobody knew what the hell the goal was, and when I was in, it appeared that we were going after low-hanging fruit, and and then you have this plan where you want to take out the last 7 Al-Qaeda leaders, and nobody gets behind it. And it's I've always wondered, not always, once I left and I started looking into all this stuff, I continue to wonder what was the goal of this?
I thought it was to win. And we came up with the plan, and I was like, let's go do this, and worked back and forth, and just kept working at this, just grinding away, because in government, it's all about endurance. It's a war of attrition. It's like, I'm just going to outlast him, and we'll keep going on this. But, I'm just random. There's a point of where I was trying to go with this. I know I'm just like, sounds like I'm rambling.
That's all right, Chris. I ramble as well when I'm doing my reactions. I wonder if they got to make a start on removing those 7 Al-Qaeda figures off the board. I wonder if
just got absolutely fixated on this idea of defeating Al-Qaeda, because I thought I did an informal survey of like tons of veterans. I was like, what do you think we should do in Afghanistan? Like, it's time to come home. And I was really worried about what those who had lost loved ones there thought, or those that had been injured. Across the board, everybody's like, we gave it our best shot. But I thought that by doing this, we could declare victory, pull out meaningfully. So that was a whole hustle. That was a whole idea of like, okay, I'm going to do this. I know it sounds ridiculous. Like, my dumb ass comes up with this idea. So we kept pushing on that. And I ended up going to the National Counterterrorism Center. I was like, this is perfect. I can have more of a role because it's higher position. But then the president was unhappy with Mark Esper as Secretary of Defense at the time and wanted to change. So there were only 3 of us to serve in an acting capacity, this is going to be legalistic, but it's important to understand for some people, like the 3 people that actually care about this that are listening. You have to be appointed by the president and you have to be confirmed by the Senate, meaning you have to go up there and they wire brush you, and then they vote you out. You can't just take over a cabinet position, a high-level position, like Joe shit the ragman off the street. You can't do that. You can, but it's not going to work. You have to be presidentially appointed, Senate confirmed. That way the Congress has had their say. So there were only 3 of us. I was one of them. President called and asked that I replace him. So obviously I accepted that because that's what we do, right? Go in there, and I'm like 73 days. Like I've been to Ranger School. Ranger School's 60 days. You know this, I know, because you had some Rangers on the show. It's really good. I like that episode a lot with the Delta breacher. I forgot his name.
Chris Van Zandt.
Yeah, that was really cool. He gave a great description about the difference between being Ranger qualified and being a United States Army Ranger. I love that. Best description I've ever heard. So I'm like, I can stand on my head for 73 days. Done it for 60, not realizing everything that was going into this that would happen. But that's how I ended up doing that. But I left. Then I left. Like, boom, you're done.
Yeah.
And I had no understanding, no idea what I was going to do, not a clue, and didn't really. Like I said, I got 2 calls, and that I had to figure it out myself, just like you, and just off we go. And here we start again.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, right?
Well, let's
I thought he was going to get to the 7 key figures and talk about any progress that they might have made in removing those players from the board or off the board, but it doesn't sound like it. Maybe it'll come up later on.
I haven't even given you an intro yet, so we'll start now. But so I just want to give a brief intro just so everybody knows who you are. If they don't already, but military career 1983 to 2014, enlisted in the Army Reserve as an infantryman in 1983 and served in the DC National Guard as an MP. Then you commissioned to become an officer in 1987 with a bachelor's degree in history from George Washington University. You transferred to Special Forces in 1993, honor graduate from Army Ranger School. Numerous command and staff positions within 5th Special Forces Group, multiple deployments during the GWAT, both to Iraq and Afghanistan. Company commander of 5th Special Forces in Afghanistan in 2001. Many more deployments in other theaters. I know you worked extensively with CIA in Bosnia back, I believe, in the 90s. Post-military career, defense contractor for clandestine special operations and intelligence under Secretaries of Defense for Intelligence and Policy, acting assistant secretary of defense for special operations, low intensity conflict, deputy assistant secretary of defense for special operations and combating terrorism, director of National Counterterrorism Center, former acting secretary to defense, and finally the author of Soldier Secretary, Warnings from the Battlefield and the Pentagon about America's Most Dangerous Enemies, which I cannot wait to jump into that. And just some other stuff. You oversaw the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. I would love to talk about that. Oversaw personnel reductions in Iraq and Afghanistan, handled requests and questions, and testified about the January 6th response, massive activation of the National Guard members, and you took out some of the top terrorists in the world throughout your career.
And
holy heck, what a resume. So taking out some of the top terrorists in the world, it must come up. So those 7 that he was talking about, maybe it's in relation to those. Maybe it's all 7 of those individuals. Maybe it's only some of them. But damn, what a resume. And the stuff that he's done and what he's doing now. I didn't hear much about what he's doing now, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, I'm sure it'll come up anyway. Awesome. How long is that?
I can breathe again. That's quite the career.
That and a quarter. Well, if you're at Starbucks, it'll be like $4.50. We'll get you a cup of coffee, man. I mean, yeah, most importantly, try to be a good husband, try to be a good father, and try to be a good American.
Yeah.
So thanks, man. Thanks. I always get bored listening to that. It's really just, kid from Iowa who came from a family of public servants. My dad was a cop, and my mom, he said there's intrinsic value in public service. You don't get paid a lot. And he literally answered JFK's call. He was drafted, served in the Korean War as an 11 Charlie mortarman, and like really got in it. Like Korea War. Come on, man. Like, what did they do? A couple of years, and it was just like high intensity war. And came back, and literally he said, "I heard that JFK what asked not what to do, blah blah blah." And he said, "I'm going to go into government. I'm going to try to make a change." And he's always like, "There's intrinsic value in public service." I took that shit to heart, So just was really incredibly fortunate to be able to serve our country, man.
That's cool to hear. Cool to hear him speak about his dad too. But yeah, what did he say? Most important things, or above all of that stuff in terms of his resume, be a good father, husband, and American. A good human being. Very cool. Again, shout out to Dazza for the recommendation to have a listen to this guy. I can see what you mean by him being one of the most chilled dudes you've ever done some work with, and I can see why just listening to him.
I know that sounds like really cliche.
That's an incredible career.
Man, I just did my job, dude.
Everybody that comes on gets a gift.
What?
Well, you were up till 2 a.m. watching the show last night. Any guesses?
Nice.
Vigilance Elite gummy bears.
Yes.
Those are amazing. And believe it or not, they're legal in all 50 states.
Well done.
And they're made in the USA.
It's what you do.
Right?
Giving it back. And yeah.
Made in the USA. You don't hear that very often anymore, right?
I really appreciate it. And my wife will be tickled pink. It's usually, because come on, Sean, usually I go on these things, I don't know, walk away with like lost 6 hours. Not this one though. I'm really excited about this one because you talk about things that matter and are important. And
thank you.
I don't think I have anything to add, to tell you the truth, but we'll let your audience decide when, we get like, wow, we got 20,000 viewers. We went from 5 million last week to 20,000.
Yeah. But I do not think that's going to happen. We have a lot to talk about. I don't want to spend too much time on your career because we'll be here a week covering all of that.
Sure.
But I do want to stress some of the important things that you're a part of. So let's kind of start with where you grew up. We'll talk about some of the big missions that you did and some of the key leaders that you've taken out. And then we'll dig into some of the shit that's going on in the country and in the world today. So I know you grew up in Iowa.
Yep.
That COVID vaccine one will be interesting to hear his thoughts on that. And I think Sean read in the introduction that this guy, Chris Miller, oversaw the COVID-19 vaccine rollout or whatever. So I'm definitely keen to hear about that. I still think it's a whole load of rubbish, but anyway.
Iowa City, Iowa. Spent some time on the East Coast in Newark, Delaware, moved back to Iowa City. I think I was probably 10. My parents are from there. Dad decided to go home. I think my mom probably pushed him a lot harder than that. I'm just guessing. They're still alive, 94 years old, living in Iowa. Mom still lives alone. Father has the opportunity to live at the nursing home now because he's no longer as mobile as he should be. So, but yeah, just like kind of that. I got no bad news from my youth. Like, it's bucolic, man. It was like great parents, great community. It was that like age of where you just went off and did crap all day long and your parents didn't care and you didn't have a cell phone. It was just like magical and just and then
wholesome is the word I would use. Sounds like you had an awesome and a wholesome upbringing by the sounds of things.
And just was like, I got to get out of Iowa City, Iowa. What about you? You were in Missouri, man.
I was in Missouri.
Did you like, I just got this thing where I was like, it's a big world out there. And I was really fortunate that my parents like always instilled in my sister and me like this sense of adventure, this sense of inquisitiveness, you know, like there's a big world. I'm like, I gotta go see it. This little town's gonna be the death of me, you know. I was gonna be a Bruce Springsteen song, you know. What about you?
What about me?
Why'd you leave Missouri?
This guy. I've found myself doing that in the past too sometimes, and I'm having conversations with people and people are wanting to find out about me, and I end up asking them questions or asking them the same question. That's what's making me smile and laugh right now, listening to this. I think Sean, when he's interviewing people, from what I've seen, is so fully engaged and interested in learning about them and hearing about them and them talking about what it is that they've done. It seems like he's like that again now with regards to this guy, Chris Miller. But Chris is also, you know, he's got his own way of doing things too, clearly. And he's just got a really nice way of, it's almost like a double interview. It's almost like we're getting to hear a bit, or I feel like I'm getting to hear and learn about both of these guys. Learn a bit about Chris Miller so far, hearing a lot, and largely that's what I'll hear and probably observe and learn most about. But also learning and hearing a bit about Sean and some of his experiences and some of the build-up in terms of his show, what he's done to get it to where it is, the hustle, the grind, the small team that he now has, etc. Some of the stuff in his take and his perspective on things, the support that he received and didn't receive. It is a two-way conversation, but it's almost like this guy, Chris Miller, is interviewing Sean at the same time for us.
You know, I just left Missouri for the military and I joined.
You did 17, you were 17 or 18?
Yeah, I joined at 17 in the
Had to
delayed
get your
entry
parents
program.
to sign off for you.
Yep, had to get my dad to sign off for it. You know, I joined them. I didn't feel like I had any other options.
Okay.
I wasn't a great student. I didn't really take sports very seriously, nor was I very good at any of them. I was pretty much into chasing women and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And
What kind of cards you have?
I had a Ford Probe.
Dude, I thought you were going to give me Trans Am.
I wish.
Oh, man.
I had a 1982 truck that I destroyed immediately by taking off road, and then I got a Ford Probe.
You're not taking that off road
And
once.
nope. And but yeah, I didn't feel like I had any other options. And
I have no idea what a Ford Probe is. I'll probably look it up later, but I'm not a big car or motorcycle head.
and honestly, I was always drawn to the military.
Yeah, why?
So, my dad did a stint in the military when I was a young kid, 4th grade, I think.
I'm just wondering if Sean's going to go, hang on, wait a minute. I'm interviewing you here. You stop asking me questions.
I think he joined. And at that time, the Gulf War was going on.
Yeah.
We got deployed to Germany. My dad was in the medical field, so I saw a lot of these guys coming in and out of Germany. I saw all the books. I bought all the books. I bought all the G.I. Joes, and I was just always infatuated with
Isn't that weird?
combat.
Isn't that weird? Like somehow that triggers something in some of us, and other people like don't care. So I had the same thing, man. It was, you know, Vietnam had wrapped down. I was born in '65, and I remember there were only 3 TV channels then. Remember, you could get like the 4th UHF. You could get some weird thing out of Philadelphia where you could watch Speed Racer or something. But, you know, when my dad came home, it wasn't like now. My kids watch whatever they want, 2,000 channels. Watch whatever you want. In those days, the old man came home. My mom, I'm never allowed to call my dad the old man. I said that once to my mom. Only time she got upset with me. She's like, you do not refer to your father as the old man. I was like, whoa. So I take it back. Mom, my father would come home from work. And guess what? He took over the TV. you're going to watch CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. It was like, I don't want to do homework. What are you going to do? You're going to watch the news. So I'm like, I was just this weirdo kid who was watching the news, and and then you had to read the paper. That was like one of the things, like some assignment. So I'm reading like Vietnam and stuff. I'm like, holy crap. And somehow that just, and then my uncles, my dad, I just like, I guess you have to serve. But it didn't, it bothered me at first, when you're younger and you're seeing caskets coming home with flags on them. And I remember asking my dad, I was like, what are they? I mean, flags. He goes, flags are put on caskets only if you've served. And I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. I don't think it's actually true. But that, when you're like 5, 6 years old and you have these weird things, like that resonated. I'm like, so if I don't serve, I'm not going to have, this is the connection I made. So adolescent, it just terrified the thought, but I was like, I'm going to serve. I mean, this is what we do. It's what, and I don't come from a family of like, oh, my great grandfather served in the Civil War, or Revolutionary War. As a matter of fact, my family left Germany in 1848. They were draft dodgers because that was like when like the Prussians or whoever the hell it was, fighting, and they got drafted and they're like, we're out of here. So I think it's hilarious that I come from a long line of draft dodgers. So, I always wonder, like, something triggered in us this desire to go serve. Combat, yeah, that's what we do, right? Why would you join if that wasn't the goal? Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to get my college money. Hey, good with you if you want your college money, but you don't go into Navy SEALs or Army Special Operations if you're looking for college money, right?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
Man, it's over 30 minutes again. I've run over time again, but just really intrigued and enjoy listening to this conversation. I like the way Chris asks questions of Sean. I like the way Sean answers them. Definitely, I'm learning a fair amount about both of them in this short space of time and that anyway. And grateful for it. So, yeah, appreciate you if you stuck around this long listening to me interject and babble on as well. Hopefully you're drawn in. It's quite interesting listening to Chris speak, and then when he asks Sean questions, it's very interesting listening to his responses. And like I said, getting to learn and know a little bit more about both of these guys. So anyway, that being said, man, message is the same, eh? Regardless of any challenges, difficulties that you may be going through, just encourage you to stay in that fight. Keep turning up, put one foot in front of the other, and just take it one day at a time. Be kinder to yourself. It's okay to not be okay. Ask for help if you need to. Do whatever it is that you feel you need to do to help yourself or to get the help that you need. But most of all, like I said, make sure you stay in that fight. Just keep turning up. As lonely and as hard and as difficult and as miserable as it may be, and as it may seem right now, things will get better. I promise you. That's always been my experience. Things can do and will get better. Start with that thought of wanting them to get better. I promise you things will get better. So anyway, as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.